Hi everyone, my name is Waddie G, and I am based in Brooklyn, New York, but I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and Kansas City, Kansas. And I want to thank Project Briggs for putting me on on my grind interview. So, about me, you know where I'm from, you know where I live. I am the blogger, the founder, the producer, the event promoter and producer and journalist behind The G Listed. The G Listed is my blog at theglisted.com where I celebrate and empower urban pop and urban queer culture. I'm really very passionate about the Black LGBTQ voice, especially just for me as a Black gay man. I just love to empower people who are like me because I notice the limited spaces that we have online and in media overall for empowerment. And being that that is my passion, I have the gift of writing. I love to voice my opinions, my praises, and celebrating people who look like me and you or who are me and you. Hopefully, if for those of you who are watching this, I'll be featuring you on the G Listed. So, Project Briggs wants to know, why do I use the word allegedly in some of my reporting and also the strike through feature in some of the text that I use in my articles? Well, I mean, that's my way of throwing shade. My platform has a positive and empowering message in everything that I write. However, whenever I feel like people are challenging the Black, gay, lesbian, bisexual, same gender loving, trans, queer people of and also people of color in a way that could victimize many of us, if not all of us, then I will, speak in tongue in cheek rhetoric and use words like allegedly when I know the truth is better, but sometimes I do have to protect myself legally. And then strike through features is just my way of throwing shade. So if you're a follower of the G Listed, or if not, just make sure you do check out my blog. You'll see some of those examples. Some of the projects I'm currently involved in outside of the G Listed blog, I am a volunteer and a big supporter of GMED in Brooklyn. The name of the organization stands for Gay Men of African Descent. It's based here in New York, Brooklyn, New York. Actually, I'm in one of their conference rooms now, and in GMED, they they really provide community resources to help gay men of all walks of life in there. Gay men of African descent from all walks of life. A lot of people confuse GMAT as just an HIV organization. It's much more than that. They help. They counsel people for whatever disparities one has. It could be just dealing with like stress, mental challenges, physical challenges, emotional challenges. And then it's also not always about helping those in need, quote unquote. They have many different forums throughout the week to empower and to engage and empower men to socialize amongst each other. I attend their Friday night forum on a regular basis, which is a 3 hour nightly conversation amongst many different walks of life in our community from all ages. I see guys as young as 21 on up to their late 70s joining in these 3 hour discussions where we talk about just what we go through in life: sex, family, um, just ideas on how to carry the Black, gay, queer, SGL culture forward, and also how to be empowering to our lesbian, queer sisters in the community, so forth and so on. So the organization itself is a real community driven organization that could be a good use for multiple reasons for anybody in the Black LGBT community. Let's see. What type of activities, events? Oh, what type of news and events do I cover on the G listed? Um, well, on the pop culture, on the urban pop culture side is easy. Anything that relates to Black excellence in film, music, media, politics, sports, you name it. Anybody who's a Black notable famous person, I will probably do something to honor their legacies. I like doing pop culture lists, so you'll see one day you'll see top 10 Janet Jackson music videos of all time. The next day would be the 10 greatest Tevin Campbell songs of all time. And just recently, I posted a list about the 10 best rappers who came out of Miami. And then pretty soon I'll be doing some lists about Black people in politics and Black people in theater. So make sure you check out theglisted.com to see all of those if you are into pop culture, especially Black pop culture. Now, on the queer culture side, again, I my number one mission is to provide a platform of empowerment. Again, I also mentioned before that are spaces of positive Black, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, same gender loving medium is very limited. So even though I'm a one man show, I promise myself to do my best at representing those platforms that I see. That includes entrepreneurs, authors, musicians, pride organizers, activists, and actors and actresses, so forth and so on, and showcase their talents to the world, showcase their platforms to the world. And it doesn't limit to here in America. I feature people in Africa, Europe, and all parts of the world. That's what the G List covers. The challenges I see in our community, and I'm just going to talk about the Black LGBTQ community in particular, is that first and foremost, we really need to make efforts in being a community. I feel that starts with those who want to call themselves leaders and influencers in the community. Um, it's unfortunate that we get into our own silos and insecurities to work together well with one another. Once we get to do that, or the majority of us really create a community with each other, then you have people who wouldn't identify as leaders and influencers in the community. They would be very inspired to foster a community within ourselves. And then I would say the second thing that is a challenge in our community is that we really need to make our voices heard outside of the community. No, that does not mean that we need to fight and chant hashtags like gay media is so white, or white people don't check for us, or Black straight people continue to judge us for our sexualities. It's not that. It's that when we want our voices heard, we have to go to those platforms of power and say, yes, we want to be treated equal too. We want to help you in your initiatives, but this is what you have to do for us. I will get into that at a much later time on the G listed, but that is a challenge that myself and fellow thought leaders have communicated with each other. How long have I been out of the closet, and who was the hardest person to tell that to? Wow. Okay, so I'll put it like this. I've been called gay ever since I was a little kid. Actually, ever since age 9. I remember the first time I was teased for, being like a girl, sounding like a girl, could be gay, all of this stuff when I went from going to a private Christian school to a summer camp where all the public school kids go to, especially the ones from the hood. So I wasn't used to that kind of foul language and name calling when you wanted to put down someone. Um, those words weren't really never hurtful to me, but I was always called gay. People in my family, everybody I went to school with, church with, assumed I was going to be gay, if not already gay, growing up. It wasn't until I was turning 19 years old that I could be actually gay, even though I had attractions to women. I actually dated and, did things with women. But really didn't come into that sexuality as a gay man fully until I was in my early 20s. I was 21 when I finally got into a relationship with a man. I've dated them before, but was really unsure, and I was actually dating women at the same time because I wasn't sure of my sexuality. So I accepted my sexuality by the time I was turned 21. When I was 22, almost turning 23, the first person I came out of the closet to, was my then best friend Shanitra. May she rest in peace. She was my very close friend. I could tell her anything at the time, and I felt comfortable sharing that with her first, which was a funny experience. And then the second hardest person that it was hard for me to come out to before I named the first person was my dad. Because even though I loved him very much, we had a very rough relationship. So coming out to him at that time was hard. But the most difficult person to come out to was my grandmother. She raised me. She was my mother and father growing up. I loved her more than anyone else, even more than myself. But she was in her deathbed when I was 25 years old in 2001. I felt the need to come out to her on her deathbed. I felt like that was a lie I kept from her for a few years, and I just did not want her to leave this earth without understanding and know who I fully am. I believe she accepted me, not just talking about on her deathbed, but I feel like she knew all along. With the upcoming Trump administration, what do you feel the extent of the anti-LGBT attitudes down the road? Well, Trump is president now, so I guess this was written before he actually won. But Trump being the president of the United States it's a scary road for us Americans. If he gets to last these 4 years, hopefully he won't get reelected for another 4. But as far as affecting LGBTQ people, at this present time of me taping this, which is May 2017, we are facing a lot of challenges when it comes to equality, healthcare, dealing with harassment, and it's probably going to be many more extremities that we're going to face as far as our rights being challenged and just our safety overall. Fortunately, I am active in making sure that we're still protected as not just LGBTQ people, because I'm more black than I am LGBTQ. I'm always black first, but I understand this is a LGBT issue. Who is my LGBT hero? Wow. Well, you know what? That's simple. My closest friends, who I call my big brothers, are my LGBT heroes. Hopefully they won't be upset that I'm shouting their names. I won't say their last names. But first and foremost, Raheem Briggs, who is the man behind Project Briggs. He's been a big brother to me for quite a few years. And he's definitely a hero to me. My friends in Chicago, Christopher, Lawrence, and Aristotle, like all 4 of those friendships mean the world to me. They see me at my best. They see me at my worst. As far as a hero that I probably have never met before, I would say, some of y'all might be upset, but I would say Don Lemon, because I really just He's a media person. He's a journalist, and I just like how he has held his head up high throughout opposition and never missed a beat, never broke a sweat for just how he carries his platform on CNN. I see him as a hero. What non-LGBT issues are you most passionate about? Well, the treatment of black people in all over the world, but most particular in America, and that's from A to Z. So I don't need to get any more specific than that. What historical outcome would I change? Wow. Um, I don't know if you guys want to call 2 years ago history, but I just had this conversation about 2 hours before recording this video. I would love to change the outcome of that Dallas BBQ fight that went viral. What I would change is Jonathan Snipes, the white aggressor who started the fight, would be sitting and rotting in jail, instead of Bana El-Amin, who fought and defended himself, even if it was with a quote unquote deadly weapon. I will also get the DA who prosecuted Bana El-Amin altogether, put that person through all kinds of hell, and all of those white media outlets and white people who harassed him, who harassed me, and anybody else who defended Bana El-Amin. That's what I would change in history. What's been the most memorable pop culture moment of my lifetime? Wow. It's a really good question. So much. Oh well, ugh. For all the wrong, for not so good reasons, I would say the most memorable and heartbreaking was the death of Whitney Houston, the internationally known, famous, top-selling, greatest voice of all time, Whitney Houston. I was a fan of hers since her first album came out. I remember being either 8 or 9 years old and missing out on 3 weeks of allowance because I wanted to buy that album, which was on vinyl at the time, or vinyl at the time. And I just fell in love with her voice, her beauty, her candor. I saw throughout the years, I saw beneath the layers of the diva that the record labels, the media, and the fans have, put upon her, and I saw a real person in her. I actually met her a couple of times, and oh man, those were the first time I met her was one of my favorite times in life. I'll talk about that at another time, but her death, when it was announced, I'll never forget how it happened. I took a nap that day because I worked overtime. Saturday was overtime for me at work. I was exhausted. I decided to take a nap. And as soon as I woke up woke up from the nap, I turned on my television just to see what was on. Within 5 seconds of me turning that television on, I remembered that ABC News reporter from Nightline reported that she died. I was in disbelief. Tears rolled down my eyes immediately. I called up one of my best friends and cried my eyes out. I've never been that affected by a celebrity death in my life. What LGBTQ stereotypes annoy me most? Stereotypes? Eesh. I would say the behavior. I'm not going to say it's a stereotype, but it could be. I'm going to be really real. I'm sick and tired of these black queer feminists, male and female, always demonizing black masculinity. Not all black masculinity is toxic. Some are, just like there's toxic femininity. There's toxic queerism, which an example is those who judge and demonize and try to ignore the greatness of black masculinity. As black people, no matter what our character preferences are or identities are, we're all great. None of us is more demonic than the other. What's my advice for Black LGBTQ owned businesses? Um, my number one advice is use Black LGBTQ media to help you get your voice out there. And I'm one of the people that you could reach out to. Waddie G at the G Listed. My email address is wg@theglisted.com. But first, you check out my blog at theglisted.com so you can see what the content is all about and then know that this platform, as well as several other Black LGBTQ platforms, are for you. Okay? So I am Waddie G, and I have been interviewed via video on my grind through Project Briggs. I am so glad to be a part of this project, and I'm just very proud of Raheem Briggs. I've been watching his journey and been a part of his journey as a DC community leader. So I hope that I do this interview justice for him. Bye.